The trouble began in the neon-drenched district of Metro City, where the air usually smelled of ozone and progress. Today, it smelled like citrus and panic. A freak accident at the professor's laboratory had caused a vat of experimental, hypergrowth vitamin C to spill into the city's main water reservoir. By noon, every glass of orange juice in the city hummed with a strange, bioluminescent glow. Felix the Cat was the first to notice. He had been napping on a rooftop when a delivery truck overturned nearby, splashing a puddle of the glowing pulp onto his tail. Felix jumped, but as he landed, his tail didn't just twitch, it stretched. It grew into a long, prehensile tentacle that began to morph into a mallet, then a ladder, then a vacuum cleaner. "Right," Felix muttered, his eyes wide. "This is going to be one of those afternoons." Down at the docks, Popeye the sailor man was finishing a can of spinach when he accidentally grabbed a stray carton of the contaminated juice. One gulp, and his forearms didn't just bulge. They inflated like industrial bellows. His anchor tattoo began to glow with a blinding orange hue, and his pipe started emitting puffs of citrus-scented smoke. "Well, blow me down," Pop grunted, his voice sounding like a distorted tuba. "My gams feel like they're made of pressurized steam." Suddenly, the sky darkened. The reservoir had reached critical mass. A massive, globule-like entity, a semi-sentient, skyscraper-sized blob of sentient orange juice, slurped its way out of the treatment plant, turning the streets into a sticky, syrupy swamp. It pulsed with a rhythmic, acidic light, dissolving street lamps and flattening cars. Astro Boy streaked across the skyline, his jet boots sputtering as a splash of the monster juice hit his intake valves. He spiraled downward, crashing into the park. His internal circuits were sparking. The juice was supercharging his positronic brain, forcing him to process information at a rate that made reality look like a slideshow. "Warning," Astro Boy's internal voice flickered. "System overload, efficiency at 400%. He looked up to see the giant orange blob barreling toward the center of the city. Felix, now utilizing his shape-shifting tail to hover like a helicopter, grabbed Astro Boy by the collar. "Hey kid, you're the one with the rocket boosters," Felix shouted, his tail turning into a firm grip. "Can you handle the heat, or are you just a lemon?" "I am overclocked," Astro Boy said, his eyes glowing with an intense amber light. He looked at Popeye, who was currently punching through a tidal wave of juice, his fists moving so fast they created shockwaves of steam. "I need a conduit," Astro Boy shouted. "Popeye, hit the center of the mass. Felix, weave your tail around the perimeter to contain the spill." Popeye didn't hesitate. He waded into the sticky, acidic swamp, his boots creating craters in the pavement. "Eat your oranges, ye big puddle of pulp," he bellowed, winding up a punch that carried the force of a tectonic plate. He struck the center of the orange monster. The impact didn't just hurt the blob, it sent a ripple of kinetic energy through the liquid. "Now," Astro Boy yelled. He flew into the center of the strike zone, his body acting as a lightning rod. He channeled the excess energy from his overcharged cells into the liquid, rapidly dehydrating the acidic compound. Felix worked with frantic precision, his tail elongating and stitching the edges of the city together, acting as a dam to keep the splash damage contained. His cartoon physics allowed him to ignore the sticky mess, turning his rubbery body into a barrier that kept the city's civilians safe. With a final, gargantuan pop, the monster orange juice shattered into billions of harmless, tiny droplets that rained down on the city like a sweet, fragrant mist. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of dripping. Popeye wiped his brow, his arms slowly shrinking back to their usual Popeye-sized proportions. "A bit tart for my liking," he grunted, reaching for a fresh can of spinach to settle his stomach. Felix sat on a street lamp, his tail back to its normal, furry self. He pulled a small, dry orange segment from his ear and took a skeptical bite. "Not bad," the cat purred, "but I think I'll stick to sardines." Astro Boy hovered above them, his circuits finally cooling down to a steady hum. He looked down at the city, now clean and smelling faintly of fruit. "I believe," the robot said with a tired smile. That is enough vitamin C for one lifetime.